Alright guys, I'm going to do a short video today on how to change the valve cover gaskets on this 1989 Ram Charger. This is really more for my YouTube page, but there's a couple of guys, on Facebook who would want to know if I could do a video of it. So it's a fairly simple job. It's going to have, some basic hand tools. If you're not sure what you're doing, the best thing that I can tell you, if you want to attempt it, is just take some pictures of everything before you take anything apart. Just go ahead and take pictures of it all, and then that way, if there's any question when you go to put it all back together, you'll have something to reference it by. So let me get some tools together and we'll get started. Another little thing that I found that's helpful, if you have a truck, that has, any kind of lift on it at all, it's hard to get up over these fender wells. I mean, this fender well is probably, almost to my neck. Well, what I do, and I just figured this out yesterday, is I have a motorcycle jack. I just roll that out there and fill the center with that little piece of board there, and it puts me plenty high to reach over in the fender well and do what I got to do. So, it's a little heavy to drag around, but if you have a motorcycle jack and you're a little shorter or whatever, and you need to have something to stand on, it's adjustable. So it's just an idea if you need something to think about. Okay. So basically what you're going to need, obviously, is a set of valve cover gaskets. I chose these Mr. Gasket, the cork style. They come in cork or they come in rubber. My personal experience, the rubber ones tend to leak. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to argue, and that's fine. My preference is the cork ones. You can use whatever you want. It's up to you. But in my personal experience, the cork ones I have better results as far as leaks. You're going to also need some of this ultra black RTV silicone. And again, some people are going to say, oh, you don't need silicone. Well, you know what? Maybe you don't. I use it. I don't go crazy with it, but I do use it when I put it on there because I'm not going to take the chance of having to do it again. So it's worth it to throw a small bead around this gasket when I put it on, just to ensure that I don't have to do this job twice. You're gonna need a 7/16 socket, and you may not need these extensions. Probably need at least one of them, but you don't have to have a couple of them. I just bring out different sizes in case I want to use a shorter one or whatever. A swivel, sometimes you may need a 3/8 swivel, and obviously a good ratchet. So basically, this is all it takes to change your valve covers, and then some labor. So hang on, and we'll get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is obviously remove your air breather. You don't have to, but it just makes it easier to get this stuff out of the way. So let me get that out of the way, and then we'll continue on. Okay, so now you can see we have a breather out of the way, and I'm going to start with the driver's side. It's the easiest one. Normally I start with the harder side, but I am going to go ahead and just start with this side. What you're going to want to do is this hose here that's connected to your PCV valve. You can either disconnect the hose or you can pull the whole valve out. It's just as simple, just to disconnect the hose. So, it's hooked to the back of your carburetor. Just want to make sure that it doesn't fall off and you don't realize it, and you got to put it back together, and you got this vacuum leak or whatever. But anyway, you can see I can't really get a good angle on it, but it gives you an idea. It's just going right there to the back of the carburetor. So once you got that done, you're gonna have 5 of these screws, these little bolts right here. You know, there's 1, 2. Can't really show you the other one, I don't think. Anyway, there it is back there. 3, and then you'll notice the little. Well, sorry about that, guys. I had a phone call and it kind of made me start my video over again. But anyway, down in there is you know, one of the bolts. There's 5 of these little bolts here. They're 3/8. I mean 7/16. There's 5 of them. So you know, you want to go around, get all 5 of those out. Remember to pull this hose. I just got it laid up on top of here. It actually goes, you know, under the bottom side and connects to the PCV valve. So unhook that, and then go ahead and take the bolts out. And you know, if you're not sure, like I said, go ahead and take a picture of it, and you'll have an idea, you know, where everything goes back. But you know, it's pretty straightforward. So let me get started on that, and I'll be back. Okay, now I've removed all 5 of these screws, and this valve cover should be ready to come off. I don't know if you have an air compressor. You know, if you do, then this is what I would suggest. If not, then a good rag. Maybe degrease the engine before you start this or whatever. I'm going to degrease the engine when I'm done. But you see all this trash and you know, just gunk and grime. When you pull this valve cover off, yes, this bolt is loose. It's just laying down in there. It'll come off when I take the valve cover. It'll come up with the valve cover. But I'm gonna take, you know, my air compressor with a blower, and I'm gonna blow all this trash and debris out of the way so it doesn't go down into the engine once I take this cover off and expose the rocker arms and stuff. And since we've already taken the air breather off as well, you're gonna want to cover your carburetor or something, you know, with a rag or plastic bag or something. You just don't want that trash blowing down into the carburetor. So let me get that done, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've got all this fairly clean. Not too much hanging around in there that, you know, it's gonna really cause any problems. So we are going to proceed with pulling the valve cover off, and then we'll show you the next step to actually replacing the gasket. So hang on and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's our valve cover that we've taken off, and obviously, you know, down here's your rockers and your lifters and push rods and all that good stuff. Now what you want to do, you want to make sure that this lip here all the way around is clean. You don't want any debris, any leftover silicone or pieces of gasket material, you know, stuck on there. So you know, you can take a scraper, you know, try to scrape it, you know, try to keep anything that, if you get, I don't have too much to do on this one. This one looks pretty clean. I will have to wipe it down though, and just, I'll run my hand across it to make sure there's nothing, you know, back there in the corner that I, you know, don't see. But I can see most of the material is, you know, still stuck to the valve cover itself. So you know, you can just take a rag and kind of wipe it down if yours is clean as this one. So that's that. And then on this end, you know, this takes a little more work to get, you know, you got to scrape all this off. You know, you may not have any silicone on yours at all, and if you don't, you know, that's going to make it a little easier. But like I said, I use silicone regardless. You know, if it makes it a little harder to get back off, you know, when I need to change them again, then so be it. But I go ahead and use silicone. So let me get that cleaned up, and we'll go from there. I decided to go ahead and paint this valve cover while I had it all, you know, just more or less to just kind of protect the metal. Like I said, nothing fancy, just some black Rust-Oleum. And you know, when you're cleaning the gasket material off of that valve cover, you're gonna need a, you know, a scraper and probably one of these wire brushes to go into an end of a drill. If you have that right there, that's gonna really make the job, you know, a lot easier to get that, you know, gasket material off of the valve cover. So while I'm waiting on that one to dry, I'm gonna go ahead and move around to the passenger side and get that one off and cleaned up and ready to go. I said normally this job would take me about an hour to complete. In real time right now, I've actually already been over an hour, but it's because I'm recording, and as you can see, you know, it's you know, it's raining on me, you know, so I have to keep starting and stopping, but either way, I'm gonna get it done, so I'll be back. Okay, so obviously on the passenger side, you know, the first thing you're gonna want to do is try to get as much of this stuff, you know, that's in your way out of the way, which, you know, it's not really too much. I mean, this is the heater core hose. You know, you obviously can't take this out. I mean, you could, but, you know, you don't need to. But if you have this set up here, you know, you're going to want to remove this bolt so that you can lift this vacuum assembly up and just put it over to the side somewhere. And then, you know, most of this stuff just moves out of the way. There's spark plug wires, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then there's five bolts around this side, just like the other side. So, you know, if you're still, you know, confused, take a picture of everything that you got right there. No big deal. And you'll have something to reference yourself back to. So let me get started on that, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've gotten the 5 bolts out of the zoom back out here. Got the 5 bolts out of the valve cover. Got them laying right there, and now I'm just gonna pull this one off and do the same thing as I did on the other. I've already blown all the trash out of there that, you know, would fall down inside the engine. So I'm gonna pull this one off, clean it up, get all the gasket material off of the valve cover itself and off of the engine block, wire brush it all up, throw some paint on it because you can see it's looking kind of crappy, and I'll be back to reassemble it in a minute. Now that black RTV sealer that you should have bought at the store, this is where you're going to use that. I like to put a thin bead all the way around to hold the gasket in place, and then I will put another thin bead on the other side of the gasket, so when it sets down on top of the motor, it helps with the sealing and just keeps everything from leaking. So let me get that done and I'll be back. Okay, so I've done the same thing with the valve cover. You see I've run a bead of silicone around the valve cover, and now I'm going to install this one back onto the driver's side. Well, once again I got interrupted. You know, when you're recording with your phone like I am, you can't, if somebody calls, it ends your video and you have to start the video over again. So I'll be doing 3, you know, short videos, I guess, for those of you know who wanted me to do a video so you could see what, you know, what the crap is actually going on here. But anyway, you can see I've got the valve cover back on, and right now I'm just basically putting my plug wires back in the little keeper that, you know, keeps them off the exhaust pipes and just kind of somewhat keeps everything looking, I guess, as decent as it can get, you know, for a stock truck. This is not a race motor, a show truck, nothing like that. This is just a, you know, a daily driver that I'm tinkering with. So, you know, when this motor goes bad and I put another motor in it, then I may do some, you know, chrome under the hood and all that. But for now, it's just keeping it together and maintaining what I got. So, you want to make sure when you do those valve covers, you're going to make sure these little tabs, there's little notches in these. Let me see if I can zoom it in for you. Okay. These little covers, I mean, these valve covers have little notches cut out in them right there. And those tabs go up in those little notches. And that, you know, helps keep the valve cover in place, along with the silicone that I put on there. Like I said, you know, some people are going to say, oh, you don't need silicone. You know, if you don't want to use it, don't use it. But the main thing is to make sure when you tighten those bolts back down on these valve covers, don't over tighten them. I mean, just get them down snug, you know, give them a quarter to a half a turn or whatever, and then stop, because you'll bend the valve cover. You'll bend this lip along this valve cover. It's very thin, and you'll bend it and get it out of shape, and then, you know, these things they'll start leaking. So don't use an impact. You know, any air tools. You don't need air tools for this. It's real simple. You know, more likely if you put an air wrench on there, you're going to over tighten them and they're going to leak. So I suggest doing it by hand and just tightening them down till they feel pretty snug, and then give them like another half turn, and then you should be good. So let me get on over to the passenger side and get that one wrapped up.